Hey, this is Alex from the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. To see more videos like this from the Good Old Boys, hit subscribe and support this independent podcast.
The way that we were drafting on this, it was a 14 round draft on this. Single QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 kicker, 1 defense, special team. So a pretty standardized league for a starting roster, and then a few bench spots on top of that one there as well. So pretty standardized draft, right? We tried to make it as close as we could to what most folks are going to see and going to encounter in their in the draft room that night. And we based all of this stuff off of a half-point PPR scoring, right? And part of the reason we do half-point PPR scoring is, one, we base all of our rankings off of a half-point PPR, and two, it kind of lands right in the middle, in between the standard scoring and full-point PPR scoring, and you can kind of adjust back and forth and really, see how some of that would shift and look and work based on your league there. But this will give you kind of the middle ground, and you can adjust as you need if you're a full PPR or a standard scoring league there.
Fun time with this one. This board looked a little bit different than things that I have been doing in some areas. So Bijan fell to 108. I picked him up. If I'm okay with having a piece of Bijan, right? Like, I like Nick Chubb, I like Saquon Barkley, I like Bijan, but they're all kind of right there. So if you want to change it up a little bit, great. And that's what I decided to do. So start with Bijan. Garrett Wilson fell back to me at 205. I love that. I thought I was, feeling really good about myself after these first 2 picks. Joe Mixon in the 3rd. And then Amari Cooper in the 4th. I went Mixon there because I didn't love the receivers that were sitting around me at the back end of the 3rd round at that moment. I'm not a Debo fan. I decided to pass on Keenan Allen at that moment and went with, knowing that I have the upside, big spotlight. Everybody's watching Bijan, and then pretty Mr. Consistent in Joe Mixon, right? Like, he is consistently right there at, the back end of RB1, and I don't see that changing this year for the Cincinnati Bengals. So yeah, Amari Cooper, Drake London took the upside of a young wide receiver, followed that up again with some other upside. Brandon Ayuk, a guy that I think will end up leading the Niners in most receiving categories by the end of this year. Then my touchdown guy, Monty, and then Tua, right? Stepped into that, got Tua Freiermuth as my tight end, and then Dobbs in the 10th. Again, Elijah Mitchell, Gerald Everett in the 12th. Not because I don't believe in Pat Freiermuth, but because I really like the upside of Everett, and this is one of the few positions I could grab him, and it wasn't picked by someone else. And then again, my 2 flyers at the end, Zamir White and Kyler Murray. They're throwaway picks if need be. If Tua gets hurt and Kyler's not back, I'm going to have to do that, right? Like, I'm going to have to be put in a position of, do I drop Kyler even though he's a couple weeks away? Whatever that looks like given the time. But for some reason, I decided I was going to be sassy this round and not draft kicker defense.